Hi, I'm Sharleen Spiteri and you're watching France 24.
Today on ENCORE, they've been a fixture of European music for the past 25 years. Texas have released 8 albums, selling over 38 million records since their breakthrough in 1989. Singer Sharleen Spiteri reveals the secret to the band's prolonged success.
You know, sometimes I look at it now and I think it's still a bit surreal. It doesn't feel like 25 years. But, you know, it may look like 25 years, but it definitely doesn't feel like it. It's amazing, but it still feels like we just started yesterday.
Texas has released a new album to mark the anniversary. It's called Texas 25. That includes 4 new tracks. Do you still have the same process when you're writing songs and going to the studio?
When we started, we were young, free and single, and then suddenly life becomes all very real, and, you know, weddings, funerals, all sorts happen. So yeah, it's life changes. We don't always do it the same way. There's nothing set in stone ever.
Now, your latest video for Star's Family stars Alan Rickman, who fans will also remember was in your In Demand video.
Yeah, we did the tango together.
What's the reason that you keep going back to him?
Because I love him. One, because I love him and he's such a nice man. When we got Alan in to do the In Demand video, what happened was we were having a video meeting. We were actually in Abbey Road Studios recording. We were having a video meeting, and Vaughan Arnell, the director, had said, you know, what about dancing? And I was like, oh, I'd love to dance in the video, because I was always, up until that point, I was always kind of looking out a window forlorn. It was always the same thing. I was like, oh, I'm so bored, like doing that look out a window and where is my love or something. So it was great to suddenly be put in a position to do something a bit different in a video. And at that point, Michael Kamen, the music director, popped in and he was like, oh, I was just on the phone to my friend Alan Rickman and I told him I was coming to see you guys. And he goes, and he's such a big fan, and everyone just looked at each other and just went, Alan Rickman would dance the tango.
Now, let's talk about your breakthrough single, I Don't Want a Lover, which came out in 1989. Did you realise that that song was a hit when you wrote it?
No, because I'd never written a hit record before. But it sounded, the amazing thing was I was like, oh, this sounds like a real record. You know, for me it was all very new. And all I thought was, wow, this actually sounds like a proper record. And it was.
Now, after that, you had a couple of records which struggled in the UK, but they did well across Europe, especially here in France. Why do you think there was that discrepancy? Why do you think it didn't do so well in the UK?
The whole sort of Manchester scene thing started happening, the sort of baggy sound, that was all coming in, dance music was becoming a lot bigger, and there was a big change in the UK. And we just did not, we were just like not part of that at all. We were everything that they weren't. And we kind of like faded into the background in the UK. But, I mean, we were very lucky that we were still selling so many records in Europe. You know, we were massively successful here in France and Spain. That's what kept us afloat. You know, we were lucky that we had that situation that we were allowed to continue to make records because the rest of Europe supported us.
So there's never a question from your end of walking away from the band? There's
never been at any point when I've ever thought, walk away, no. There's been times when I've went in very bad moods and went, stuff this, but there's never been times when I've ever thought of walking away from Texas, no. I just need a prayer. I know you never care. But now that I know it wasn't love, 'cause you don't even care for what I'm saying. You don't even think for what you're doing.
The band did eventually go on a hiatus in 2005 after Red Book, the album, came out, and you went on to do a couple of solo records yourself. Was that something that you'd always wanted to do in the back of your mind?
No, it was never anything I'd wanted to do. Melody was made out of necessity because I had, you know, we'd taken a little bit of time off. I'd had my daughter in 2002 and we took a little bit of time off. During that time of when we decided to take a bit of a break, I had a very public split from my daughter's father, and it was a time and a place in my life where I'd never really ever thought I would get to, because it was so public, and it was never anything that I'd ever experienced, because I'd only ever been in the media and the press for my music. I'd never been in it for my personal life, and I found it very difficult to deal with it. And to be completely honest with you, I didn't give a hoot if I'd ever made, at that point, ever made another record ever in my life again. The only thing I really cared about was making sure that my daughter was secure and happy, and that was really my number one aim. And then when, you know, everything in my personal life had started to kind of find its place, and we kind of started writing again. It was a record, for me, it was a record of my pain and my confusion and my understanding of what had happened in my life. And to be honest, I really think that the band, I mean, they were like, go and do it, because, you know, they're like my brothers. They care very, very much for me, but they don't want to be in that position where they actually need to discuss what just went on. And they knew I was hurting, and they wanted me to be okay, but they didn't really want to be around it. So that was why that was made.
Now, the band's guitarist Ali suffered a brain aneurysm in 2009. He went on to make a miraculous recovery.
Yeah.
Is it true that he actually...
That he's an idiot?
Yeah, well, that as well. But that he asked to go on tour when he was in his hospital bed.
He did. I mean, he was just like, right, I need to get out of here. That was his words were, I need to get out of here. And you're looking at him and he's like, you know, half his hair, like he's sitting there, you're going, okay. You know, he's still learning to walk properly at that point, you're thinking. And his short-term memory at that point wasn't the full shilling. You know, we had to talk, each one of us all had to take turns of going up to visit him, and you had to talk about old things that happened in the past, because all his old memory was perfect, but to strengthen his short-term memory, you have to keep the brain turning. So you have to talk about old stuff that he remembered. That was quite funny for us, because we're not really a band that ever look back. So suddenly going back and doing all that stuff, and then he was like, yeah, I want to go on tour. Yeah, we were a great band, we need to go on tour, we need to go on, and you're like, okay. So then we started very, very slowly.
And let's talk White on Blonde. This album came out about a decade after your debut Southside, but it really opened you up to a whole new generation of fans. Is this a moment where everything just clicked for the band? It
was a point where everything changed. It was a point where we went from being a band that were relatively successful to suddenly going into sort of major league players.
Was there ever a point where you figured, okay, we've made it, we are a proper professional outfit?
No. That's probably why we're still going. We're still like, we kind of still got to learn this. We're still trying to get the hang of it.
Your French fans in particular have stood by you this whole time. Why do you think you've proved so popular over here?
I have no clue what the answer is. I mean, I think that is a fan's question of why Artex is so successful. It's a question for a journalist, it's a question for someone else. It's not really a question for me, because I don't know why we're successful, full stop. I'd like to think that we're successful because we write good songs. I'd like to think we're successful because we work our asses off. Because it's honest what we do, it's true, it's the thing that we love, that maybe that's what people hear in it, that's what people hear in the music. I don't know why we're successful. I don't know why we're successful in France, but it just clicked instantly. It just clicked, and it's stayed, and we've been very lucky with the French public that they've always supported us, they've always been there, and it seems to be going through generation to like, and is continuing to do so, even with the success of the Conversation last year. It's been absolutely massive for us.
And you did make an appearance on the French version of X Factor as well. Was it kind of odd being on the other side of the table?
No, because I make records. You know, there's a big difference between going on a show and being, because, you know, the truth is the people that go on X Factor, they don't do what I do. I made records first. It's like I wrote with my band and we crafted songs and crafted records and made records. And then we became successful. We didn't become successful and then tried to make records. So for me to be on the other side going, maybe if it was more like this or more like that, that seems very natural for me to do.
Texas has been around for 25 years in the record industry. The record industry itself has changed a lot in that time. How do you think Texas would fare if they were starting out as a band today?
I don't know, I don't care, because I don't have to. It's like, you know, there's a million what ifs. You know, would I have survived if we'd started in the 60s? I don't know, you know, it's like it's an impossible question. I think that if you have the desire and the fight to do something, you'll do it. It doesn't matter about when it is.